With Summer League behind us, let's take a look at 4 rookie standouts. This is floor and ceiling, let's break them down. Reed Sheppard had an excellent summer league, and he continued to make his case for being the best two-way playmaker in this class. The Kentucky guard averaged 20 points, shooting 50% from the field while adding 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 stalks to his stat line. Outside of the Rockets' first summer league game, Sheppard's 3 didn't really fall at all. He went 1 for 12 after going 4 for 6 versus the Lakers in his first game, but very encouragingly, Sheppard found other ways to score and be productive. Reed started answering some of my questions about him, namely in terms of self-creation and advantage creation. Sheppard was given the ball, and he showed real flashes creating for himself with an eye towards finishing the play, either at the basket or from the mid-range. The new Rockets prospect got into the paint, finished with craft, and he was relatively unaffected despite his athletic deficits. Reed knows how to use screens patiently to both drive and pull up. He did that at a much higher volume than at Kentucky, and overall he looked comfortable for a rookie who was shouldering a heavy load in summer league. Sure, Sheppard turned the ball over 5 times per game, but I'm not really focused on that for a first-year player in his first summer. Rather, I love how Sheppard played with creativity and a good looseness, and his instincts on both ends of the floor continued to really pop. Reed's feel for the game is outlier good, so much so that I think it will be pretty difficult to keep him away from Houston's rotation for the entire year. On any other team, I would expect Sheppard to almost immediately get a lot of minutes, but the context is somewhat trickier with the Rockets. One thing going in his favor though, like I brought up during Sheppard's entire freshman year at Kentucky, and as we've also seen in spurts in Vegas, Sheppard should be able to play off the ball, and he will do so well. His marks from deep will certainly not remain this low, and Summer League is a small sample, so it should only be a matter of time until Reed's threes return to very reliable. With Cam Whitmore also playing in Summer League, there were times when Sheppard could spot up or move off the ball, which also benefits his game. Theoretically, the means should be there for Sheppard to do the same during his rookie year. After all, the Rockets have Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, Alperen Şengün, and so on. Basically, a ton of guys who can play with the ball in their hands, so Sheppard knows how to leverage that attention to make things happen. As for improvement points, they remain fairly similar. I want to keep seeing more of Sheppard's craft at the basket and in the paint, although these first signs in the NBA were very good. Really, I think my biggest focus is still on how Sheppard will consistently overcome his size disadvantage. Even though he had an excellent summer league, he did struggle at times to get off clean looks and ball handling against bigger, longer defenders, and he also faced some problems down the other end. All in all, however, Reed Sheppard was undoubtedly my top rookie in Summer League action. It looks like the Washington Wizards are finally turning things around after a grim few years, and given what we saw in Summer League, Bub Carrington should be a big part of that. The 14th pick in the 2024 NBA Draft averaged 16, 7, and 5 in his first games in a DC uniform. I had Carrington in the 10 to 20 range before the draft, but honestly, I expected him to look way more raw in Las Vegas. Instead, Carrington looked the part of a polished point guard and not like a rookie who turned 19 years old this week. Of course, this is relative to the context that he was living in during Summer League, but Bub was playmaking and scoring, and he was making his team better. Given how I consider Carrington more of a score-first type of guard, let's start there. The first thing I loved is how many threes he launched. Bub took nearly 8 threes a game in Summer League, and he converted on about 36%. These looks weren't straightforward either. The shot diet was nicely balanced, with Carrington spotting up and catching and shooting. But like we saw at Pittsburgh, while Bub can definitely shoot off the catch, he's also very good off the bounce. Carrington is really comfortable using screens, and we saw that time and time again in Summer League. Bub can pull up coming out of a pick, he can use the screen to take advantage of a miscommunication, or he can also draw out the switch and take on the big. Carrington hit some high difficulty shots in Vegas, but crucially, these came in ways that should eventually translate to the NBA as he continues to add strength and experience. In terms of passing, Bub was very sturdy. Again, it's a similar story to college. I don't think that Bub was making crazy reads, and he's on the safer side as a playmaker, but he was dishing out effective deliveries. In 5 games, Carrington put up 26 assists to only 12 turnovers, so that's very encouraging. If there's one area of improvement to maybe nitpick or look towards, it would likely be defense. Like at Pittsburgh, Carrington tries, and generally I thought his effort in Summer League was good, but at the end of the day, he's so skinny that he finds it tough to stay rooted to his spots and keep his attackers in front. This issue did not pop up in a huge way in Vegas. It's not really a defensive-minded environment anyway, but it should be more of a story in the league. Summer League was a good start, but let's see how Carrington reacts against bigger, longer, and better athletes in the NBA. I was very interested in seeing Matas Buzelis outside of the G League Ignite environment, and he had a really appealing Summer League showing. Before we dive in, there's some necessary context to add here. As we can see, Buzelis' efficiency was not good. He shot about 34% from the field, but really, I was much more focused on seeing his process and how Matas would look next to other teammates. Broadly, I was encouraged by how Buzelis played, and even though he still needs development and a constant role, I'm very glad that he ended up in Chicago. Of course, Buzelis is a Windy City native, but it goes beyond that. The team has long lacked a truly homegrown, drafted, young prospect with legit star upside. That's easier said than done, but Matas does have a chance to be that with how he shoots, defends hard, and continues to show glimpses of on-ball creativity. One thing that's true is that Buzelis only made about 21% of his threes in Las Vegas. Again, it's another situation in which his three-point numbers have been low, but I'm still buying the shot long term. Everything seems fine to me. Buzelis is a willing shooter, and he has counters if he's ran off the line or wants to attack a closeout already. If the Lithuanian-American prospect finished his rookie season with a bad mark from deep, I would not be surprised at all. However, I would also not be that alarmed as long as the process continues to look correct. From there, we see glimpses of Buzelis' ball handling and slashing, although these remain works in progress. I've mentioned this before, but really, I consider Matas to be a play finisher, usually out of spot-ups or cuts, rather than a playmaker. That was his billing coming into the G League Ignite, and some of it still lingered around come draft time, but I very much believe that Buzelis is at his best when he's being set up. This was apparent with the Ignite, and I think it will also be the case, at least in the short term, with the Chicago Bulls. Buzelis turned the ball over way more than he assisted in Summer League, which again is fine in this setting and in the small sample size, but I do think it speaks to an overall trend in his game. On the flip side though, I believe that Buzelis' defense continues to not get enough credit. He was not known on this end of the floor before the G League, but I thought Matas had a highly encouraging season with the Ignite on this end, which has carried over into Summer League ball. The challenge for him will be continuing to fill out his body and staying in the gym, but Matas definitely has the tools to be a useful multi-positional defender. I'm not sure who he guards in the NBA right this second, but in the big picture, I see him defending 2 through 4 and maybe even playing some small ball 5 in the future. Looking towards Matas' rookie season and NBA career, I'm also very curious to see whether his more expansive flashes will eventually flesh out. Buzelis has a crafty, although kinda mechanical game off the bounce with pivots, up fakes, and turnarounds. But it's incredibly streaky, and I would not consider it functional for NBA purposes at this stage. I found it outrageous that Johnny Furphy fell to the second round, so I was glad to see him produce in Summer League. Furphy's game looked exactly as advertised. He made his threes, he crashed the glass, and he was definitely too skinny at times, but the Australian prospect still tried his hardest to make winning plays. In 29 minutes per Summer League game, Furphy averaged 14 points, 6 rebounds, and nearly 2.5 stocks. As expected, he was used a lot from 3. Furphy took nearly 9 3-pointers a game, and even though he converted on only about 29%, you can easily tell what the idea is, and it shouldn't take too long for that percentage to go up. The knock on the Kansas product might still be that he functionally offers no self-creation. I can understand why some might have a gripe with that, but I'm not convinced that this is truly a huge issue, especially since Furphy ended up on the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers will play super fast, and whenever Furphy gets on the court, which probably will not be in his rookie season, he should have others around him to set him up. The NBA Academy graduate loves to jump high and run quick, so playing in this up-tempo style will be very beneficial. Furphy's athleticism lends itself to this as well. Like we saw during his only season in college, Furphy loves to attack the boards and collect rebounds. During Summer League in Vegas, he did just this. But one thing that wasn't on display as much at Kansas was how Furphy can also use his athleticism and his pop to score. The Aussie wing, as we saw during his academy days, can get up for some huge dunks, especially in transition, so do not be deceived by his rail-thin frame or his swooping mullet. This quick bounce popped up more when he played in Australia, so hopefully it resurfaces more often in the NBA. I have a feeling that that will be the case, but only when Furphy bulks up. This lack of strength can show up on offense, but for me, it's an even bigger problem on defense. Furphy cannot really stick to his spots, and he gets displaced too easily still, despite being a little under 6'9". Furphy also died on screens far too easily in Vegas, which will have to be fixed going forward, but that just speaks to how physically overwhelmed he would be right now.